And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome to the marine section of Alaska weather. I'm Holloway with the National Weather Service for September 3rd, 2023. A couple of options for you. Phone menu system, 1-800 number. Also out on the World Wide Web at weather.gov/Alaska. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us. For the ice edge, looking at low concentrations through much of the Arctic Ocean, Chukchi, Beaufort Sea. We have to get way up there to get any decent concentrations of ice. And for tonight's weather, looking at the service map real quick, we're looking at a low pressure system moving through eastern Russia. It will be showing up into the west coast Monday, Tuesday, but otherwise we're going to be watching the first system move through the midsection of the state. And again, this next system comes through Monday, Tuesday, but again, a similar track. Otherwise, a developing low in the Gulf of Alaska, 1,004 millibar low there, a secondary low as that system comes through, driving some precipitation, winds, picking up a little bit there in the Panhandle over the next 24 hours, but winds will be picking up again with this system moving out of Russia into the west coast of Alaska. Otherwise, tonight's weather, that ridge 5 pressure poking into the west coast there, and some rain showers through much of the interior and even some snow showers in the higher terrain. And then for Monday's weather, there's that system that makes it to the west coast, rain showers across much of the west coast and through the eastern Bering down through the Aleutians, and then anchored by that 990 low there in eastern Russia. Otherwise, that low in the Gulf of Alaska now is 1,005 millibar low with a weakening included front and lingering low pressure in the eastern interior, driving some lingering rain showers in that area of the state. And that ridge pokes into the western interior down through the Bristol Bay region with a 1,017 millibar ridge of high pressure. Tuesday's weather, that system again, like I said, is going to be tracking through much like the system today. For Tuesday, 992 millibar low with a included front, and backed up with a warm or a cold front moving through the west coast. Otherwise, ridge poking into the northeast Gulf Coast, 1,015 millibars low, 1,015 millibar high there poking in. Otherwise, that low near just south of the southeast Panhandle, pushing southeast further into the Welcome to the marine section of Alaska weather. I'm Holloway with the National Weather Service for September 3rd, 2023. A couple of other options if you further want to check out the weather. 1-800 number gets you in a phone menu system, and out on the World Wide Web, weather.gov/Alaska. And lastly, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us. For the ice concentration, low concentration through much of the Chukchi, Beaufort Sea, not even really any concentration to analyze there. Have to get up way up into the Arctic Ocean to find any decent concentrations of ice today. For tonight's weather, 994 millibar low in extreme eastern Russia, occluded front pushing through that area of the state, driving that area of Russia. Some rain showers down through much of the central Bering Sea and into the western and central Aleutians. Otherwise, ridge poking into the west coast there. And then for the system in the Gulf of Alaska, slightly deepening to 1,004 millibar low there with the basically develops into the secondary low as that system pushes through the eastern interior. Lingering snow showers through the high country Alaska Range, St. Elias Mountains. Otherwise, some rain showers in the Panhandle and some snow showers and mixed precipitation through the Brooks Range. And then for Monday's weather, that low in eastern Russia continues to move east, now a 990 millibar low there with the included front making into the west coast with rain and rain showers across much of that region, and that's down through the eastern Bering into the central Aleutians. And then that ridge of high pressure poking into the western interior down through the Bristol Bay region with a 1,017 millibar high. And then low pressure in the eastern interior continue to drive some weakening or lingering rain showers across the eastern interior and snow showers lingering in the Wrangell St. Elias Mountains. And that low, now a 1,005 millibar low, just east or just west of the Panhandle, and a weakening occluder front driving some lingering rain showers on the Panhandle. And then for Tuesday's weather, that system comes off of eastern Russia and into the Chukchi Sea with 992 millibar low, with an occluder front pushing through much the same or like today, pushing through the midsection of the state, backed up by a cold front moving through the west coast, and rain showers expected across much of the western mainland and even into south central Alaska. Ridge poking into the northeast Gulf Coast with 1,015 millibars there, and that low now exiting just south of the Panhandle. For Monday's marine forecast, for the inside waters, looking at winds generally from a southeast direction, 10 to 15 with seas as high as 3 feet there. Outside waters, winds generally from a southerly direction at 20 with seas as high as 8 feet. So look for a small craft advisory there. And then for Tuesday, marine forecast, inside waters, winds generally light and variable 5 to 15 with seas as high as 3 feet. And for the outside waters, winds generally from a variable direction 10 to 15 with seas as high as 7 feet. Then for Monday's marine forecast for south central, for the Gulf region, winds generally from a variable direction anywhere from 20 to 30 with seas as high as 8 feet. So look for a small craft advisory there on Monday. For Prince William Sound, winds generally from a northeasterly direction up to 15 with seas as high as 3 feet. Then for the Cook Inlet region, winds generally from a northerly direction 10 to 30 down there in the southern end of the Cook Inlet with seas as high as 8 feet. And then for Tuesday's marine forecast for south central, for the Gulf region, winds generally variable up to 10 with seas as high as 4 feet. And then for the Cook Inlet region, winds generally from a southerly direction 20 to 15 with seas as high as 5 feet. And then for Monday's marine forecast for Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, looking at winds generally from a westerly direction around Kodiak Island up to anywhere between 25 and 30 with seas as high as 6 feet. Then on the south side of Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from a northwesterly direction 20 to 25 with seas as high as 4 feet. And the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the west 15 to 25 with seas as high as 7 feet. And then for Tuesday's forecast, looking at winds generally from a westerly direction around Kodiak Island up to anywhere between 15 and 20 with seas as high as 6 feet. And then on the south side of Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the west at 20 with seas as high as 4 feet. And then for the north side of Alaska Peninsula, winds from the west up to 25. So look for a small craft advisory there on Tuesday with seas as high as 7 feet. And then for the Aleutian chain on Monday, winds generally from a southwesterly direction up to 25 with seas as high as 9 feet there, anywhere between Adak and Shemya. So look for a small craft advisory there on Monday. And then Tuesday, winds calm down, winds generally light and variable, 10 to 25 with seas as high as 6 feet over there in the eastern Aleutians. Then for the west coast, winds generally from a southerly direction, anywhere between 10 and 30 with seas as high as 10 feet there out near the eastern Bering. So look for a small craft advisory there. And then for Tuesday's marine forecast for the west coast, winds pick up, especially across the western Bering, with winds generally from a westerly direction up to 30 with seas as high as 14 feet. So small craft or greater, even maybe gales there on Tuesday. And then for the Arctic coast, looking at winds along the Arctic coast there, the Beaufort Sea coast, winds generally from the west at 25 with seas as high as 5 feet, down through the Chukchi Sea, looking at winds variable in direction 10 to 15, and down through the Bering Strait, winds generally from a variable direction as well, 15 to 30 with seas as high as 6 feet. And then Tuesday's marine forecast for our coast, looking at winds switching to the east up to 25 there along the Beaufort Sea coast, down through the Chukchi Sea coast, winds generally from a easterly direction 15 to 25, down to the Bering Strait, winds generally from the south at 10 to 25. And that's all we have for